right. All right. Welcome to the Vision Train, y'all. Amanda, do you want to tell us where we're at in time and space? Amanda Sage?
Yes, here we are on the Nonstop Vision Train Global Art Jam. We've been going for 10 months straight. And this started as a response to this great shift that came to us in 2020. We decided we needed to create a place where we could all gather in a virtual space and to create together, to inspire each other to do the best work we have ever done yet. That we are coming to this point where it is needed more than ever for creativity to be streamed through our vessels in the unique ways that each of us are capable of. And we are so happy to be connected and be a part of the Design Science Studio first cohort of this epic Design Science decade that we are launching into. And a part of this event today, making the invisible visible. Making the invisible visible. That's what we're doing, right? You know, we're drawing it out of the noosphere. We're drawing it out of the field of potentiality into a way that we can communicate and share. And so it's so great to be here with all of you on the train. Thank you, Roxy, for bringing us together. Thank you, Amanda Joy, for bringing us together. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Amanda Joy, do you want to share?
I would love to, yeah. One of the visions that Amanda Sage streams so well in so much of her art is the image of the egg. And Buckminster Fuller talks a lot about how humanity now is like a chick just hatching from its egg. And I love this so much that I got it tattooed on my arm, somewhat of a visionary art kind of way. So this is a turkey chick, which are animals that create compost piles in order to create their incubation zones for their eggs. And so it's an egg that's been nurtured in a compost heap, metaphor for regeneration as kind of the eternal state for the universe. And as we're making all the invisible visible now, we're kind of remembering that that is the base state. And so Fuller said that humanity is like this chick and that we're hatching, and our fossil fuels have been our embryonic fluid to teach us all that we need in order to live in a more regenerative existence. And, that we would build all the right tools for probably all the wrong reasons first. We've been kind of in this me zone, a chick inside of an egg kind of growing just for the sake of growth and development. And now we're being reoriented to this kind of cyclical way, like a chick hatching and learning about grass and soil and how it can live in a cyclical existence with it. And we're far more capable than we know, like a chick hatching. We have all these tools that we built for the wrong reason, like satellites that were built very much for surveillance and for the Cold War, on biodiversity. The internet also built for weaponry, now using to connect us all here today and for community to connect all over the world. Drones that were used for spying in a lot of cases are now being used to plant trees. Space travel, which initially was for seeing beyond, is kind of turning back and taking selfies of the Earth and enabling us to see ourselves as a whole. And then also granting personhood. We granted personhood to corporations, now we're granting personhood to nature. And so I love to just sit with all of that possibility of not only just making the invisible visible, but kind of reorienting, recycling, upcycling all that we have, and really sitting with and embodying that potential of this crazy transformation and portal that we're in the midst of. I'm so grateful to all the visionary artists here on the train, choo-choo, who are helping us see it all and explore that nothing short of a new paradigm of understanding that we are co-emerging and integral functions of this spaceship Earth. So grateful to have you all here. I'm Amanda Joy. I'm also the executive director of the Buckminster Fuller Institute. And yeah, we co-created the Design Science Studio, for those who are not aware with it, with Roxy Shohadi from habRitual. We have 144 global multidisciplinary artists coming together to learn about regeneration, learn about design science, which is Buckminster Fuller's way of saying, let's design a future based on ecological principles. And yeah, this is one of our salons. We'll be having a even larger showcase in a couple months, showcasing all the artists. And yeah, with that, I'll pass it over to you, Roxy.
Thank you, Amanda. All the Amandas, Amanda Sage, Amanda Joy. I was talking about all the wonderful Amandas earlier, and Amanda Joy said she wants to make an Amanda Fest. That's all incredible Amandas. And I am so for it. I know so many incredible Amandas. Yeah, we're so blessed to be in this lifetime together, Amanda Sage, I, and Amanda Joy. I think that it is such a beautiful opportunity to harmonize our collective visions and link train cars. I think about you all the time and your metaphors of linking our train cars together on the Vision Train and the Design Science Studio. You know, like, we are in the business of building up the creative capacity of everyone around us, because every single one of you are leaders and have unique brilliance to bring to the world. And so that's what we're doing. And the more that we can just collaborate and cooperate and support each other, the better this path will be unfolding. And we're living that. We're living that through this process. You know, it's like what a perfect culmination of events that actually led to me seeing you right before the pandemic shut down at Envision with Becca, and then you're just reaching back out and be like, you should definitely be a part of the Design Science Studio. And you're like, what? This is what I'm already doing. Let's do this together. So here we are now, how many months later, and at the beginning of our commitment to a decade of supporting creativity for regeneration and drawing out that creativity, empowering that creativity in all of us. And I'm, so thankful to everyone on the train, all the engineers, all the artists, and all the amazing work you guys have been doing. And you have not stopped. We wanted to have a open studio space for the studio. And then Amanda was like, we already have one. So we're like, great. Everyone who wants to go make art at any time, just go be on the train. So there's so much more we can build together. And just so excited to uplift and support the Vision Train in every way that we can, because we got good stuff to do together, and I'm so inspired by this community. Thank you for holding it down, Amanda. I would love for you to share more about the train.
You know, one of the things that, as we've been settling into many of us being like, well, the train is a real thing now. It's not maybe something tangible that we're physically riding around, but we are riding around in a realm of possibilities, making friends, connecting connecting our visions together, and it's kind of real life. There's a lot of real life stuff that's happening on here, of sharings between the different individuals that find their way here. And it's really, it's not a competitive environment, and if it is, it's to really support and encourage each other's genius to come forward. And I feel that is the foundation for really where we need to go, and in really helping everyone realize that they play a part. Like, everybody has played a piece of the puzzle, and when you think of the train and all the cars that hook into the train, you can have really long trains, you can have short trains, and different themes. What does it carry? And so it's a symbolic vessel, and it's also something that is embedded in our language in so many ways. Oh, I just fell off the train, or oh, get on the train, right? And it's so interesting too that the train brought us time as we know it. We didn't have watches. We didn't need to know, the minutes of the hour before the trains came. And so the train is symbolic too of bringing, in the industrial revolution in many ways to the West and around the world, right? You could all of a sudden transport a lot of really heavy stuff. And so there's a part of that rubble in the wake of that constant growth that is something that we are looking at now and being like, well, maybe that wasn't such a great idea. Some of that massive industry growth that now we're missing something. We need the plants. We need the earth. We need to remember each other. There's a kind of connectedness that has been somewhat lost. And it's interesting how we're finding that now through the gift of the internet in these strange pandemic times. So where are we going next? You know, we dream of the moments when we get to be together again and hug each other and share meals together. And but here we're creating the foundation. We're creating connections. We're laying the tracks in a different way to also empower and encourage the stations. So yeah, with that, it's so it's just exciting. Each step of the way, it's exhilarating. You know, there's a lot of adapting. And we're learning. So yeah, here we go, onward into the future of the Regenaissance. I love that word, the Regenaissance.
Regenaissance. Yeah.
Did you just hear the train?
I live next to a train.
I know.
Conveniently, it choo-chooed just for you. Cheers! Like, I agree. Yeah. So for anyone who's tuning in from out there in the world, we hope that you check in the description and grab a ticket and come on play with us, because we've been in it for somehow already 5 hours and we still have another 7 hours to go of amazing performances and presentations and dance parties. And yeah, just so much goodness. And for the next little bit, we're gonna kind of lean into the visions and doing that from all perspectives. In one of the first speaker that we have is actually doing amazing work across corporate and executive legacies and businesses. And you know, I think it's so important that we're building bridges for both social and systemic change. And whenever you're operating at that level, you're really getting to help support systemic change in a very big way. So as we think, we're not trying to dream small here, we're trying to dream big. And Brigitte's going to share with us all of the work that she's doing to make that dream a reality and support in this transition for so many. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Brigitte. She's created a corporate and executive legacy approach for businesses to increase the value beyond wealth that they create. She creates new approaches to tackle the biggest problems, bringing integrity, empathy, humility, courage, and originality for stewardship and significance. She's advised governments globally and consulted government sector and multinational listed companies. So grateful to have you as a part of the Design Science Studio. Brigitte, you have been with us through and through, and thank you for holding it down. I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thank you. Hello. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm joining from a hotel room in London, so I'm just going to keep this image as a slide. So I have created this approach that I will be talking about, the novel approach to corporate sustainability leadership that makes the invisible visible and creates value beyond wealth, as already said, at scale, while helping to keep the planet habitable. And with only 9 years left to prevent irreversible damage from climate change, the world needs rapid action led by these who have the most potential to create an impact. And I'm convinced that the rapid change the world needs can originate from businesses. As I have previously worked advising governments globally, I'm acutely aware of the timelines of governments, as I have developed and led a national medium-term budget and drafted a national foresight system. But the world needs a quicker response. So I strongly believe that corporates are the best place to trigger large-scale rapid change globally, and a single person can have an immense impact, even if this is not their role. But particularly then the potential impact of CEOs and board members of multinationals is immense. So envision the scale of value beyond wealth that the multinational corporation can rapidly create if deciding to leave a legacy, which is responsible. Now imagine the decision makers of multiple most impactful businesses globally focusing on that. This is what I'm after. However, in the current world, while there is plenty discussion about corporate purpose, a lot of attention has been shifted away from corporates to consumers. And this is a major roadblock to rapid change. There was a study already more than 10 years ago that showed that even a homeless American would have a carbon footprint of 8.5 tons, twice the global average. Therefore, expecting households to lead the change is a dangerous way to go. Yet back in 2005, British Petroleum created a $100 million media campaign that also boosted the concept of carbon footprint immensely and shifted the focus of it to consumers. And it was so effective that a year later, the new Oxford American Dictionary chose the footprint erasing carbon neutral as its word of the year. So my corporate legacy approach enables to undo some of that effect and allows to bring the focus back on corporates. Generally speaking, that language is still missing in the corporate world. Yet there are exceptions. For example, the CEO of Google and Alphabet made a statement last September that they had eliminated Google's entire carbon legacy, adding that Google's lifetime net carbon footprint was then 0. But this is not limited to carbon. Plastics play a massive role in contributing to ecosystem collapse.
Toshka's fashion work. We saw a bit from Leah in the photography space.
That's what we get for the bird sounds.
Okay.
Sounds come with a side effect. Sorry about that, Bhushan.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, but that is not limited to carbon, and yeah, so plastics have also a major impact. But very similarly, there was a campaign back in 1971, which was funded by a beverage and packaging giants that shifted that focus of packaging pollution from producers to end consumers. And again, this legacy approach focuses on countering that effect as well. So it enables to make the invisible global legacies of corporates visible. But at the same time, this approach is beneficial to companies because it avoids the risks that the concept of corporate purpose, which is currently being promoted by leading management journals and prominent consultancies, brings with it. And at the same time brings all the benefits. So it allows corporates to focus their effort on corporate core activities beyond an abstract purpose or separate CSR initiatives. And by focusing corporate efforts and finances on lasting improvements and rapid demonstrable results, they can actually create shareholder value, increase employee commitment, and access to responsible finance while helping to keep the planet habitable. So there are numerous other benefits it brings, but as we are pressed for time here, I'm happy to elaborate on these elsewhere in more detail. But what is important to acknowledge is that leading with corporate legacy in mind is useful for corporates across the spectrum. Those with the biggest footprints, but also sustainability pioneers. And it is highly valuable for those who are pioneers of sustainability as it allows them to showcase their leadership in the field and highlight the role of their executive legacies in achieving this. But at the same time, it provides a solid framework for corporates that tend to be blamed by NGOs and media for lack of effort or purpose washing. So if any one of them is looking for a novel approach to talk about their operations in a coherent way that links the societal value they create with their core functions, then this is that approach. And a further detail to consider is that a key part of determining legacy is technological innovation and design. And it is crucial to consider it also in that context, not only by CEOs and directors in boardrooms. However, what I would also like to point out is that in this design science studio in parallel, I am also working to popularize this concept among the wider public. And it is high time we shift the focus and discussion to where it matters the most. So I'm preparing to address this using various channels and platforms, and welcome support in that undertaking as it seeks to counter the campaign that had a budget of $100 million. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that listeners may have, and I can be reached through various platforms. But maybe to those interested, it might be beneficial to know that I have also started to write a free newsletter about corporate legacies on Substack titled Leading with Legacy. And I'm also working on a business book and currently looking for a book agent and a New York publishing house. So I'm happy to provide more information already currently, and there are further insights coming in the future. But if anyone wishes to reach me, then feel free to do so via those platforms, and looking forward to ways to cooperate to keep this blue dot habitable. And thank you for me.
Wow, thank you so much, Bridget. Amazing work that you're doing, and such a key part of this. You know, like here we are on the train, often we're, just dreaming up all the things that, that come to us, but you're working truly with, corporations and the corporate legacies, how can it really be shifted to be something that is really everyone can be proud of. Thank you so much for doing this work.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I look forward to following up with you too and learning more about what you're doing, because this value is such an important aspect. Learning what to reframe what we really value. So we have up next, I think Carlotta is here. And Carlotta, I am going to introduce you. Carlotta Aun is a Venezuelan-born and French-embraced artist, a disillusioned physicist, and a keen observer of digital mutations. She explores the immateriality of technology as it progressively blends in with organic structures and creates alternative realities, possibilities, or dimensions. Wow. So cool. Welcome. So nice to have you here.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you for this creative space that you're putting for us.
Yes.
So it's really cool to be here.
It's an open field. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to talk today about impermanence, because impermanence is now more than ever a feeling to which we can all relate. A global pandemic has shaken our social ways of being, our jobs, our households, our relationships to each other. And we suddenly realize how fast things can change and how fragile our structures can be. There are so many ways to tackle impermanence and so many scales and contexts to address it. And I'm no philosopher, and I'm no academic, and I'm not going to attempt to theorize what I can't. Rather, I'm going to share a personal take on it and do what we humans do best, and talk about ourselves. I was born in one of the most impermanent countries of this world. It's called Venezuela. It's in Latin America. And yes, we do have internet, but I will grant you that not always. And the weather is so impermanent. This is Caracas, and this is quite true. We do have electricity in our houses, but not always. the electrical grid went down in 2019 because of a lack of maintenance. And there's been, you can check it out with the hashtag sin luz on Twitter. That means no light. We do have water, but many people are forced to pick up their water in the Guaire, that is the public sewer. In Venezuela, we have two presidents. One is a dictator and the other is not. The people in charge of the country are major drug dealers. Kidnapping is a job in high demand. And as if that was not enough, inflation is so high that sometimes by the time people get their money, they go to the bodega and they can't even buy eggs. So you get the drill. So how do you deal with what may seem to you like such absurdities or anomalies? And maybe anomalies that today, not only Venezuelans, but a lot of us can relate to. In my case, I guess it has a lot to do with hope. In Venezuela, people hoped for change. They hope for change and they will keep hoping for change. Hope has been shattered, shot at, imprisoned, stolen, and yet when you think that it's gone, it reappears in a different shape and it takes you on with your routine. Hope is constantly changing, but never truly gone. And one day you're praying to thug Ismail to protect your son coming back from school. And the other you're praying that your kidnapping is a success. And another day you hope that your passport is renewed. And another day that you have enough water for cooking and showering, and so on. Ojalá, we say, it means hopefully. I grew up in a country of major political, social, and economical instability. And when your country has no future, you lose a home. You lose the land that keeps you from falling. You lose your professional projects, your dreams, and your expectations. There's no other way to exist than to adapt, and there's no other way than to start anew, again and again. And so we Venezuelans live in a cycle of constant change, a cycle of destruction and creation, a cycle that makes the invisible visible. Venezuela is not the only country that constantly changes. The whole world races to cope with technological progress. And I guess that's what has marked the path I follow as an artist, adaptability, and in particular, how living beings adapt to technological changes. Which leads me to ask, what happens when the digital world permeates with the material reality? A digital mutation, or a symbiosis, maybe an interference. What are the changes endured by bodies, psychics, and landscapes? Venezuelans survive violence by creating a cult of thugs. Is there a possibility that we survive the advances of technology by creating a cult out of them? Rituals are repetitive habits, but they also bear this very strong religious connotation. Nowadays, screens are everywhere, and we use them every day as an indispensable part of ourselves. And by doing so, we can argue that without being conscious of it, we enact rituals that elevate technology to a sort of spiritual form. For example, take interactions. We reach to our phones in our pockets or in our purses to check the time that we didn't catch the first time because something else distracted us. And then we swipe and press and scroll obsessively, impulsively, and often devoid of any purpose. We enter a sort of blank trance state while scrolling through Instagram or Facebook's feed that is constantly changing, constantly showing something new. Why do we keep falling for blankness again and again until we lose track of what we were first looking for? Is there a way to process the excessive amount of information we are subjected to? Is there a way to deal with this acceleration? We accelerate more. There is an expansive speed of an ongoing momentum. The digital weaves in and out of the real, and time every day is affected. Some of our interactions feed the speed. Hurrying, multitasking, eating while walking, takeout, quick searching. We make everything simultaneous in order to scan information in the most effective way. We can't concentrate with our soul bodies, and so we create external apparatuses and aids to focus more efficiently. Acceleration becomes a customary practice, also a ritual. We can also take the example of grids that can be considered a sort of ritual of our technological age. Think of a system, infrastructures, maps, external shells of devices, matrices, arrays, pixels, squares are everywhere. And the exposure to digital media forces a constant translation of digital square waves into analog continuous waves in our brains. And because this process is repeated endlessly, it also becomes a ritual. I imagine the effects of technological change in behaviors and interactions, language and sensitivity, reception and transmission of information. I imagine something that allows to reach, feel, and move in a structure from beyond, a dimension of existence for a hybrid being. And so I define a human possessed and consumed by technology and its underlying architecture, a human that embodies several identities, several spaces, and several timelines, and that worships technology by becoming technology. I create a mutated entity, born in the conjunction of interface and skin, transcending organic qualities and natural evolution. An entity that is born in social media, the web of the self, reflecting its ego, its identities, its images of what it was, what it is, what it could be. An entity that is born again from the data feeding neural networks, from our empty interactions, mutating into a life of its own, becoming an operating system with a life of its own. An entity that is born again and again, forgetting all previous attempts, aiming higher, aiming to abstraction, to post-planetary becomings. Total abstraction. Lately, my attention has turned to something of great simplicity, scribbles. They started as a game to pass time during long queues or journeys. Anyone that has been in New York know how long and tedious going from Brooklyn to Harlem can be. And then I thought that so much of our lives are journeys, some shorter than others. And to me, each scribble is an image of that journey, of the insecurities we faced and the laughs we shared. And sometimes they offer solutions, and sometimes they offer something very silly. But the chaos and uncertainty it shows at first always adds a piece inside the brain, enhancing our capacity to decipher abstraction and see what cannot be seen. The problems of this world tend to be too complex to understand them on our own. And so when we think of them, it feels like the conversation quickly turns into a series of sighs. Is hope something we should hang on to and we sigh? Or is privacy something we should cherish? And is climate change stoppable? And we sigh. As perhaps a simple way to deal with impermanence, I would like to prompt you, the creators in this room, the painters and the artists, and everyone who is not also, to make your own scribble. And think of something complicated, something that has been stressing you out. Sigh, scribble, don't think. Clear the fog in your brain by interpreting this abstract shape into something more relatable. And if you're willing, I invite you to share your scribbles with me through one of these platforms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlota. That was amazing. Wait, I'll add myself so I can be here with you. That was incredible. Thank you for reaching out that you wanted to give a longer presentation. I think that your work on impermanence for resilience, as we're building our capacity to be creative in the wake of the situation that we're living through, is such an invitation. And the way that you've done it, the way that you've shared today, I think so vulnerably and honestly about your path and how you've taken your path and really leaned in to all the gifts and the challenges that become opportunities, and they shape us to be who we are. Your installation in New Art City is incredible. I'm not sure if everyone's seen it. Would you be okay with me showing like a
Yes, of course.
second?
Thank you.
and then I gotta stick to the schedule because we have a bunch of other awesome people. But I did just want to give you all a moment to see the inside, if you will, so that I'm in the, well, we'll get to see it from the background. This is what the inside of New Art City looks like. Hold on, let me make sure I'm on the right thing. Okay. In case you were wondering. But I'll just quickly zoom over to Carlota's installation because I think it really grounds some of these ideas in, and you definitely want to use this as an invitation for all of you to go inside and explore. Whoopsies, the work in here. So because I helped install it, I know where to go. I'm just gonna go through the walls. Here we go. Is it doing the weird thing? It's kind of actually sort of fascinating when it does this, because then there we go. I feel like we get to see inside your brain. Like this, this installation is so powerful. Are there any like surprises in here that you want anyone to explore more deeply?
Surprises. Well, everything was very unexpected. When I was thinking about the installation and the whole process of making the video and everything. I had a long chat with my partner that helped me figure out that a balloon was a very good way to visualize breath and confinement also, this idea of being asphyxiated by ourselves.
And this obsessive nature that we can sometimes have when we are disconnected.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect segue to our next speaker, which is Charles Michel, also from South America, specifically from Colombia. So we have Venezuela, Colombia, because they're neighbors. I'm half Colombian, so we should just do the rest of the session in Spanish. Just kidding.
Me parece perfecto.
Ahí, ¿dónde estás? Aquí, estoy buscándote.
Aquí estoy. Hola, hola.
Aquí te encontré. Ok, a ver. Add spotlight. Yay! Aquí estamos. So yeah, just quickly, just introducing dear friend. Actually, I met Charles because my mom found Charles at our Burning Man camp. I would have met Charles anyways because all our best friends are best friends. But first, my mom found you. She was like, I found a wonderful Colombian who's cooking beautiful food, and he's so nice. So she found you first. But Charles is an incredible food educator, activist, artist, and poet of food. He's one of the finalists of Netflix, The Final Table, and is a true visionary and incredible community leader and experienced designer. And Charles, I thought maybe you could help draw the lines, the threads between Carlota and what you're going to talk about as a segue over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Roxy, for and all of you for this space, for your presence. The intention that is behind us being here, I feel, is very pure and driven by beauty somehow. And Carlota, sí, hermana, I feel you. Growing up in Bogota, which is, I guess, making the invisible visible starts by saying it's not Bogota, it's Bacata, and this is Muisca territory before the colonization. Muisca culture, whose remnants are, can be seen in small villages, but it's pretty much been wiped out, culturally speaking, right? A cultural genocide of sorts. And so remembering, right, where we are and how we connect to place. So calling in from the mountains of Colombia, Muisca territory. And I love this prompt because it is, I think, at the core of the work of the translator, right? The translators who are the artists in a way. We take a medium and take a sensation, take an image, imagination, a moment, and we translate it into a sensory perception to other people too, but in a way that touches deep inside. And that is something that I really struggled with starting my career as I guess society wanted me, or I wanted me to be in a little box and understand who I was and what I was here to give. And little by little, I understood that I wanted to play with emotion and to play with experience as a medium. And that required for me to have an artistic mind, but at the same time, I didn't have any background, any training, but the emotion was there, the intention, the pulse to create was there. And I feel that this is something that connects us. And immediately also, because my craft was food, I couldn't really call myself an artist, because when you think of art, it is, mostly art that is transmitted through the eyes and through the ears. I remember having this beautiful conversation with Professor Brian McGee. He passed away a few years ago, a philosopher, his books were translated in over 30 languages. I had the chance to have a dinner with him at a high table at Oxford. And I asked him about the nature of reality. And he said, listen, whatever we understand by vision, whatever we understand by, from the practice and from the science of understanding how we perceive vision, is only a tiny, tiny fragment of the whole spectrum of light. Whatever you understand by reality, said Brian McGee in this dinner, whatever you understand by reality is only a fraction of what actually is. So most of, there is to play with is invisible. I started working with food and thinking, how would this become art? It is not, you can see it, but there's so much more going on, right? And it cannot be visual art. It cannot be exposed in a museum. And if you think about it, the temples of today, the art temples of today, often have art, very powerful art that is there to stimulate vision and hearing. But what about the other senses? So I had the chance to do research in experimental psychology to understand our senses, understand how we make decisions based on the stimuli that come through our senses, how these senses interact and combine to generate our experiences. And with the food, I thought, well, actually watching a painting of Kandinsky, I thought, well, wait a minute, if all the arts can enter through the eyes and the ears, what about food that can stimulate taste and smell and touch in ways that no other art form can? But food is not art. Even culinary art is not art from a purely academic standpoint. But what does food really mean? And what can we tell through food? There's a lot of unseen in the way we eat today. We sometimes forget that we come from an agricultural root. Our grandparents, and some people in our lives today, but our great-grandparents, their great-grandparents were definitely 99% of them were farmers. We were living every day with the land. So I guess this is a little bit of, just us to remember that agriculture and culture meet in the kitchen, right? The hearth, around the fire. What happened around the fire? Well, we also developed through millions of years of social evolution, 2 million years as humans, we developed song, we developed word, we developed communication around the fire. But the most primal one was actually cooking food and feeling safe and being able to to hold community around the fire, which is why it became sacred. And I wonder why food is not sacred anymore. It is a commodity. And in my young years, kind of studying this field and exploring as an artist, I thought an urgency. One day, almost like an epiphany came to me, like food needs to be a respected art form. And food should be embedded in all the other art forms somehow. And that would eventually bring us in connection to the mother, to nature, because it is the most intimate connection we have with her every day, apart from breathing, consuming food. It is condensed sunlight. It is the nutrients of the soil. It is the cleanliness of waters. And so today I feel incredibly honored to be part of this, this collective, this train, moving forward to trying to understand how to be of service to what wants to emerge in this century, what needs to emerge, what we feel in our hearts very deeply is urgent. And we can provide solutions. We can provide beauty and inspiration to a lot of people. Art is the medium to shift. And yeah, that is what I wanted to share with you. Just a short riff on the passion and on the importance of us as artists, not only thinking about food, but eventually elevating through the language of food, a very deep message about the need to reconnect with each other, with ourselves, and with nature. Such a pleasure to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining the Design Science Studio too. It's been such an honor to have you on board and to feel all the incredible work that you're doing in the world, and for taking a stand for food as an art. And I just drew my own like line between you and Carlota. I did this incredible Vipassana in Thailand, and it was when I healed a really deep wound in relationship that I had with food. And it was the same day that someone had taken flowers that had blossomed and fallen from a tree and written the word impermanence on the grass. And throughout the day, the words slowly blew away. And that evening, I realized, because every evening during the food process, we were obviously in silence and Vipassana for 10 days, there was always a food meditation or reflection that you were meant to do. And I noticed that at the beginning, for the first few days, I would like walk there as fast as I could, and I would serve myself a fair amount, and then I would try to eat it I would eat it fairly quickly. And I just like had this realization through like the monkeys that were wandering around and all the fresh food that I was eating straight out of the earth, just the like, not only the art of the experience of the container of asking me to like really slow down. And the food reflection was every step of the process. It was a reflection on where it grew, where it came from, the farmers who harvested it, how, you know, the hands that cooked it and brought it to me, and the cells and the parts of my being that would make it into energy so that I could live. And after that day, like by the end of the Vipassana, I was like one of the last people to get there. I served myself just the right amount of food. I ate it really slowly, and I watched the like sacredness of every leaf that grew to nourish my soul. And that moving, shifting from scarcity to sufficiency is so possible in our lifetime. There's 5 times as much food as there is that we need to feed everyone on this planet. And I know how much of a pioneer you are right now in the world of supporting people to eat whole food, like all of the parts, and reconnecting back to that spirit and that source. So thank you for being with us. And thank you for all that you do. Love you, hermanito.
Abrazo, gracias.
All right, Amanda.
Oh, that's so great to have Charles on the train. I have admired your work for a long time too, and food and the hearth, you know, being at the center of where we gather, you know, it is something that we all have in common. And it's a place where we can really come together again and celebrate the diversity, right, of how we all create food and nourish ourselves. And It's truly what sustains us, as well as the great inspiration of the spirit and the ether and the imagination and making the invisible visible. So I have the great honor. I am so thrilled and excited that the dear, dear friends, family, visionary family, Allison Gray and Alex Gray are blessing us with their presence today here on the train. And it has been quite a journey. And I have to say, this has been, both of you are part of the inspiration of this train and this collective. I don't think we would be here if it weren't for you. And for those of you that may not know who they are and of their work, they are both co-founders of the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors in New York, and are two of some of the most incredible visionary artists I have ever met, and have really helped coin this term and build this worldwide community, the Love Tribe. And that's what you do, is you pull these visions, these realms that you have seen together, in your own unique ways. You have drawn it into this field to inspire and feed hungry souls. And, it's such an honor. I'm so glad that we can connect in this way. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for inviting us. We're so honored to be a part of we've been watching some of the presentations, and thank you to all the presenters. It's very enlightening, and we're so honored to be a part of that. We, like you say, come from the land of COSM, which stands for Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. It's up here in Wappinger, New York, and 65 miles from the city. And we determined, we determined many years ago. I mean, it was 1985. We had an experience on MDMA, our first legal doses of MDMA, actually, when it was still legal. We saw a temple, and we had a simultaneous vision of the temple. Should we show our PowerPoint? Maybe we should share the screen with you.
Is that possible?
Let me see if we can do that.
You should definitely be able to
share.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Okay. Well, that would be.
We choose that.
Look on the bottom, Alex. Share screen.
Share. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Let's go up a little bit. Let's just go up a few. Here we go.
It'll give you. Do you have sound on it, or you're going to do all the sound?
No sound.
No, we're going to just talk.
Let's see.
Pictures. Can we do it without?
Yeah, see that? Did it lift up?
Share screen. That's right. Press that.
Try share.
And now
Open
systems preferences.
you could do advanced, and it would say it should give you the option to share your screen.
All right, we don't have our technologist here.
Yeah, we usually have a techno gizmologist to help us with this, but it's really okay. We can just talk.
Listen, this is what I want to tell you. The mission of COSM. See, what happened was we saw this chapel, and we knew we had to create a temple of visionary art to make the invisible visible to the public. That was the whole idea, was that there are all these people that are having these inspirations about making the invisible visible. And we were going to create a container for that. We knew in that experience, we saw the container in our mind's eye. And so the mission of COSM is to build an enduring sanctuary of visionary art to uplift a global community. And so that's what we've been setting ourselves to do since 1985. We started building the chapel from the inside out, starting with the Sacred Mirrors, because the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors is really the heart of the matter. It's in order to create the temple, we needed a heart of the matter, and the Sacred Mirrors have been that. And and I have to say, I also created work out of my experiences of psychedelics that made the invisible visible. I mean, that was always my also approach to it. I think we came to that decision even further back in 1976, when we realized that experience was the most important experience, and that we should make that the focus and the content of our art. And so my art went in the direction of making the invisible visible without a person. And Alex's went naturally in the direction of making the invisible visible with a person or two people or a net of beings. So that, I think we always have felt that our work is somehow contextually or content same, from the same place, coming out of two different minds with a lifetime of our own filters but with the same sort of passion for explaining or portraying that inner world, which I call the vast vistas of fountains and drains, roiling energy, light energy, multi-colored strands of light energy. So anyway, that is the way my work came out. It also came out as secret writing, which, I come from a non-iconic tradition. So that was where that came from. But Alex's, of course, was always, and Alex, what would you like to say about it? Because I'll just let you jump in here.
As far as this invisible that became visible, it's really, in my art, I'm talking about translating the mystical experience and from a psychedelic experience. So at the height or peak of a LSD experience that you feel connected with everything and you're out of your body, you're into the timeless awareness that is, your spiritual self, and you wake up to that. When you get a blast of that, you want to come back and share it, but it's very difficult, and you have to, it's good if you know how to draw, if you're like me and you want, or some of the veristic kind of psychedelic artists who are trying to more or less translate one of the glimpses of these mystical states. And the mystic state is something that we see throughout the world's sacred art. And I think that the visionary artists of today are some of the people who've started to look inside, most of them or many of them with the psychedelics, but some others just naturally able to meditate and go within and get in touch with their infinite spirit. And from that source, they become a medium and a kind of a lens to open up to this spiritual world. And visionary artists have always been like this. They've been the lens to the kind of divine imagination. And I think that it's why a lot of us feel connected like a community, and we can applaud when others make a breakthrough and things, because we're all trying to be cartographers of the multiverse inside of our minds. And so the ability to translate these dimensions then becomes kind of a form of validation for the people who have gone there and seen that. And most all visionary artists have the same experience. People come upon their work and they say, oh, I saw that last Saturday, or I had that experience myself. And so there's far from a disconnectedness when we go inside. What we see through the visionary artists is an interconnectedness that is demonstrated in many ways through their art. So I'm super glad about that. And we're super glad to be trying to create a home for visionary art
Exactly.
in the Hudson Valley here,
Yep.
as the mission of our church. It's an art church.
That's right. And we have Entheon opening soon when it's safe and when we get our approvals from the town. We will open the Temple of Visionary Art, and we'll have limited guests in the beginning, and then it'll get, hopefully more normal. But I wanted you to know that you can find out more about COSM at cosm.org, and you can find us on many programs on cosm.tv, where that's what we're doing now. We're offering programs for free. So please join us for the full moons and the Art Church new moons. And tomorrow is a members circle. So if you want to be a member of COSM, you can just look up cosm.org and go to membership and come to our member circle. We're going to be doing a tour of our studio. You're getting a glimpse of what we're going to do tomorrow at the members circle. Every month we meet with members and we talk on Zoom. People can ask questions and we can ask them questions and whatever, but we're going to sort of show and talk about what we've been doing lately. So join us sometime. We love the Vision Train. The Vision Train is, it's so original. It's so beyond. It so serves our community.
It's visionary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for, and for bringing us on board today.
Yay. Well, I'm so happy that you're here. And Roxy, I don't know if you guys have met in person before, but Roxy is the one that's really behind the Design Science Studio. And there's a whole crew, but Roxy has been a real, she's mothering us all in such a fantastic way. And we have a big launch coming up the end of March. And we really hope to involve you in a further way, a part of this, because we are, you both are telling a story. You've been focused through these videos in this past year, putting together a deeper narrative around the visionary story through images, through art. And it's incredible. Your full moon gatherings, the new moon art church, these are things that are just so fantastic to participate in. And so, we're linking our train cars together. We're going to the stations. COSM is one of those stations. And it's exciting. We're at the beginning, yet again.
We're talking about relationships in February, it's all about Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you both with us, and also just that connection between making the invisible visible being such a kind of key principle from Buckminster Fuller's work, but also obviously such a key principle for all of the creative work that we get to do as artists, as designers, as storytellers. We're a lot of the creators in the studio, they're all really banded together to direct their creative outputs towards a future that works for all life. And in order to do that, we need to tell the stories of the people on the ground and the beings on the ground whose stories are not being told. We need to grant personhood to nature, as Amanda Joy was speaking about, and that's what your work does. It helps to reveal the dimensions that are omnipresent and omnidirectional and always there. And I think I had this really powerful vision that I actually shared with Amanda Sage earlier at the end of last year. And it was basically just that we're working to attune back to that true nature that's actually always present. And that's something that we tap into when we get into some of those states that you were sharing about. And it was just so clear to actually get to go to the place of the full circularity, where everything and all beings are thriving and all inputs and outputs are working in cooperation. And to do that, we need to help to reveal positive visions of the future that do work for all, so we can actually pave a path forward together. So I'm so grateful that Amanda went ahead and extended the invitation to you here, because we've been talking about it in the background. And yes, we want to link train cars. We want to have you all come as visionaries. It's funny, our teachers, our members of the cohort are revolutionaries, and all of our facilitators and teachers and wisdom keepers are visionaries. And so having you come as visionaries in any and all ways, of course, welcome, and let us know how our global creative cohort can be a support to what's happening at COSM and beyond. So I'm glad we've linked train cars today. Thank you for Amanda Sage, and so much love to you both. I met you once many moons ago when I was live painting with Emancipator and Soundtribe Sector 9.
Well, I'm honored that you remember.
Of course.
That's amazing. Where were we?
In Colorado.
Colorado.
Fantastic.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You.
Love you, Amanda. Amanda's a board member of COSM, by the way, everybody.
So honored. Look forward to
She's very important to us. We love you, Amanda.
Love you too.
Love you. And
Mwah.
blessings.
Mwah. Thank you for blessing our days with your presence.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, we have still a few more wonderful guests to spotlight. And next up, we have the Coalition Project. And let's see, I'm going to go find Angeline. Here we go. Hi.
Hey there.
So awesome. Is it early morning or late night?
It's getting later. It's just it's a gloomy, rainy day here. I'm in the Dominican Republic, but I have a candle and I have some California sage and I have so much love from this group of people. So thank you for having me.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. I've been dreaming of the time to get you guys on the train and to connect with you, because the work that you're doing is so incredible, and you've been connecting people and bringing a message to the world in such a unique way. And this project of yours, uniting art, science, and communities for our coral reefs. We build larger than life. Ooh, we have who's sharing screen right now? Oh, is that you sharing screen?
Yeah, it was our interstitial, but keep going.
Larger than life sculptures to raise nationwide awareness. Once deployed into the ocean, they become ecotourism and coral restoration sites. So I'm sure you're going to tell us more about this. It's an exciting day. I think you're in the midst of a really important transition.
Yes, awesome. I'm going to share, share a little visual presentation. So yeah, my partner Kyle and I are the co-founders of this nonprofit, and we're bridging art, science, and communities in hopes to accelerate marine ecosystem regeneration. And I fell in love with coral reefs living in Thailand and swimming in the ocean every day, and just connecting with what I soon discovered were these incredibly beautiful animals that have mouths that eat, and they photosynthesize in symbiosis with little algae that live inside of them. And they absorb calcium carbonate from the ocean to build their skeletons. And they take all sorts of forms, shapes, sizes, colors, and they were just such a huge inspiration to me as an artist. And I just loved spending every day in the ocean there. And all together, they create a coral reef ecosystem. And these coral reef ecosystems are the most biodiverse ecosystem on our planet. They support 25% of all marine life, and they absorb 97% of wave and storm energy, which protects coastlines. And they provide food and livelihood to over 1 billion people around the world. And so it was a super shock and heartbreaking thing for us to realize that globally we've lost over half of our coral reefs in the last 30 years, and that most coral reef ecosystems that we see now look more similar to this. And it's just the bare skeletons of these animals that have taken millions of years to evolve and thousands of years to grow. And for us, we just felt like we had to do something about it. And so we built our first sculpture in Thailand with the help of our two dear friends, Thaddeus and Marty. And we deployed it into the ocean. And we were so amazed with how fast life grew on it. And we had gifted it to the local community, and they turned it into an ecotourism site, a coral restoration site, and they to continue to expand on it and transplant coral and take divers there. And from this point, we spent about a year just learning as much as we could about coral reefs and restoration and what we're doing, what the best scientific techniques are out there, how could we engage local communities more, and how could we build a movement, because we need human power behind this movement. And so we found ourselves here in the Dominican Republic, and we began meeting people and talking to people, and the energy that wanted to be brought out here, it was a figure named Atabe. And Atabe, this is a petroglyph of her. She's the Mother Earth spirit of the Taino people, who are the indigenous people of the Caribbean. And they had been residing here for 4,500 years, migrated from Venezuela of Arawakan descent. And only about 500 years ago, when Christopher Columbus arrived on this island, 83% of the population was wiped out. And those that had survived had either hidden in caves or been sold to America as African slaves. And just in the last few decades has a cultural resurgence begun to rediscover their language, their music, their ceremonies, and their stories. And so we were guided by this woman, Irka Mateo, who's the Taino elder in the photo, and she began to share the stories with us and help us create something that would be honoring their ancestors. And so we brought the project to the local youth, sharing about coral reefs, and this beautiful girls' school created a performance piece for Atabe. And this was her in completion, and she's part frog, part deity, ruling over fresh water and fertility and giving birth to her son Yukahu, who is the god of the sea. And so being on a public beach in the Dominican Republic, we brought a lot of attention to this part of the beach, and people gathered around here wanting to understand what was happening, who she was. A lot of people thought she was a Buddha, not really having any connection to the Taino lineage on their land. And we actually had protesters, evangelic protesters, come to our sculpture, come with pickaxes, trying to destroy it, believing we were devil worshippers. And it created a huge outbreak on social media and went viral on local national news. And people were debating online about culture, ecology, the history of this place. And for us, it was a beautiful thing that we could bring all of this to the surface and bring these conversations to the surface. And it's been a really powerful piece, I think, for the Taino community, who have come together to honor and bless the sculpture, and at the same time begin these conversations with priests in the community and the greater Dominican community at large to talk about the history of this land. We brought coral scientists onto the team who were teaching us and the youth about techniques in microfragmentation, which is slicing coral into tiny pieces and accelerates coral growth rates by 25 to 50 times faster, and they fuse together and create even larger colonies. So these are ways that we can transplant these corals all over the sculpture and degraded reefs to create new species and habitats. And we were partnering with the local divers, local officials, and we were finding how much this sculpture brought people together and attracted the necessary attention and inspiration to get involved with us. I have so much excitement about the science behind marine restoration and the recovery potential of marine ecosystems. So I really feel like we're at a crucial time to do this work and to mobilize communities and bridge that with culture and connection and the empowerment of our indigenous communities and also to inspire the youth of these local communities. And so here's just a little glimpse of Kyle and I. He's not here with us today, but our work here in Dominican Republic, so we're about to deploy the sculpture, And once she's in the water, we'll be working with the local community on learning how to practice these restoration methods around her. So we'll be working with a coral farm, as well as partnering with organizations that work in water purification and recycling, and creating marine protection policies so that we can try and reduce the things that are causing the degradation in the first place. And I just really believe in the power of art to be that bridge between cultures and to provoke and invoke these new connections and new opportunities and ways that we can move forward together into a future that can be sustainable for our children and their children. So we hope to hopefully bring this to other parts of the world, to collaborate with artists around the world, and continue telling impactful cultural stories and build community in those local regions for restoration. Thank you.
Amazing.
Amazing. Wow. Angeline, thank you. Oh my goodness. I know you also applied to be a part of the studio, and we were excited to have you join us. So I feel like you've been with us all along, even though you may have never received your acceptance email. We certainly sent it, but here you are, and we're all together now. So that's great.
Yeah, it's been a wild year, but I'd love to figure out how to re-engage and yeah, we sometimes immerse fully, and it's hard to pull away, and yeah, but I'm so grateful for what's happened and how it's evolved, and it's a constantly learning experience. So.
And you're such a powerful demonstration. I don't know if you're connected with Ángela del Sol, but she's going to present in a little while. I feel like you are.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Because I'm like, you two are friends if you don't know each other yet. But yeah, thank you for, again, like every single one of these amazing people in their own way is taking their deep care and figuring out a way to like really empower it and create change. And you're doing it. You've brought together all your favorite things, and you've created ripples that have brought people's awareness to both their cultures and also to their local ecosystems and the harmonization that they get to do. Your work is so inspiring, and so grateful that you were able to join us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I look forward to some more art jams with you guys in the future.
Yes, that would be awesome.
It would be great to do a full-length interview and yeah, wonderful. Link the train cars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Say hi to Kyle for us.
I will, for sure. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. So Roxy, we're going to move on to the next segment, and we thank everybody that is tuned in live with us here. You can join us in the full festival experience. It is really, it's kind of like a festival for sure. You, go to, where do we leave that?
Here, I'll put the image up so that everyone can see where to go, because that way it's on the screen. The easiest, shortest link for going to check out the event is this one that says withpresence.co/in/design science. The direct link to the event is also just in the description of the live stream. So if you're coming to us from out there in the world somewhere and you're excited to jump in, we have another 6 hours of content, amazing artists, presenters, performances, and 2 virtual exhibitions, dozens of artists creating live. We're about to have a dance party after this. Next hour of conversation with David Block. So yeah, there's so much to do, and this time that we have together. So really hope that you can tune in from wherever you are. And I'm going to have a short commercial break, which is really funny because it sounds hilarious to have a commercial. But we have some really great little tiny videos that were made. And so we're going to share them before we get off of the stream. The first one is an invitation, though, to join Robinson Crusoe, one of our beloved revolutionaries, who is currently, well, actually, I'll let him tell you.
Hello, I'm Captain Noah Count of the DSS Fuller. I hope that you're enjoying your tour of our vessel. And as a special treat, the cast and crew have produced a special program featuring some of the illustrious passengers on what we like to call cruise ship Earth. Among them, Robinson Crusoe, the famous opera star who was shipwrecked on an island for 30 years. We managed to rescue him. He's in the stateroom aboard, and we'll be talking with him and his Australian Budager, an albino parakeet named Bertie. We'll also be seeing Grant Wood, my great Aunt Belva, and not the least, Belshazzar, the king of Babylon, and myself. Please join us on Zoom, and welcome aboard.
I love Mel. Everyone has to go and see Mel. He's amazing. And he is inside of this Zoom room for 12 hours today. I would like to visit his Aunt Melba for sure. For sure, for sure. All right, the next thing that I'm going to share with you is an invitation from our studio interdisciplinarian, Samantha Sapaya, who has, we've been sculpting something called the Expeditionaries program, which is for our interdisciplinary collaborators around the world who want to band together to support this design science decade and this mission that we're all on together. So I am going to pass the mic over to Sam.
Hi, it's me, Sam, Studio Interdisciplinarian. We've seen some truly innovative, mind-blowing creations from Design Science Studio revolutionaries. Creators are pushed to their limits of knowledge within the studio. This is where interdisciplinary collaboration really becomes important. It is a dynamic exchange of science and art, knowledge and inspiration, of head and heart, data and relationships. Today, we start building this interdisciplinary bridge. We do so by inviting people in science, tech, and industry as studio collaborators to become expeditionaries of the Design Science Studio. Are you one of our new expeditionaries? Do you know someone in science, tech, and industry who defies categorization, who spans sectors, and is known for their broad, diverse interests? These are the expeditionaries we seek. Expeditionaries themselves decide how they'd like to contribute to the Design Science Studio. For more information, go to bit.ly/DSS Expedite. Applications close 28th February, and for any queries, please feel free to write to me at samantha@grc.earth.
Yeah, I never thought I'd make or share commercials. How fun is that? Woohoo! Okay, last one, but it's not really commercial. It's just, I'm going to play it. It's a thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have had so many people who have made today possible. And we just made a little thing to highlight a few. It's definitely not everyone. But yeah, just want to take a moment to acknowledge Of course, not listed here, but we've said it over and over and we'll say it again. Every artist who participated, also the studio team that helped put this together, and a bunch of amazing other people who helped, whether in the studio or collaborators, visionaries, Amanda Sage included. So just thank you so much to everyone who stepped up, and just such deep gratitude for all of your support. And there's so much more to come. So we're going to close the stream and invite you all to join us in Making the Invisible Visible, who are out in Facebook or YouTube land. And we will continue our program in here.